Hello everyone, in today's video I want to show to you and also explain how you can achieve super cinematic looking street photography shots. Well, to get these super wide shots, you could just simply crop your images, but this is not what we are doing here on this channel.
My dream was and still is to get a similar experience to a Hasselblad X-Pen but with a digital camera. Because the X-Pen is fun and I love the results that I got, but in low light situations it wasn't a good choice when shooting street. The largest aperture available is only f4 and that can become an issue.
Now when it comes to digital cameras, that does not apply, so let's check out an option that comes very close to the real deal. And of course I'm going to show you how to get there and what could be improved to make the whole experience even better, so let's go. You might ask yourself, what is he talking about? Well, what kind of lens will give you results that resembles Hollywood productions, and this is exactly where this kind of lens comes from. So I'm talking about anamorphic lenses like this one here. This is the Laowa Nanomorph 35mm and has a t-stop of t2.4. And up until a few years, these kind of lenses were inaccessible for most people because they were, first of all, huge and heavy, and they cost tens of thousands of dollars, and they were only used for movie productions, and most of the time they rented those lenses. But now this has changed because now these lenses get smaller and smaller and the price came down a lot, and they are now much more affordable, and some of them, I think they are even below $1,000, which is incredible if you think about it. Now with these developments, the whole anamorphic world becomes now a thing for a lot of people, and with this one, it became a thing for me. This is a loaner lens, I have to send it back, but I'm thinking about picking one up for myself. Technically, these lenses are designed for video in mind, and photography is rather an afterthought. However, to simulate an X-Pen, they are great because there's not a sensor out there that has this super wide aspect ratio. So when it comes to that, this is the closest you will get to an X-Pen. One feature that makes it also a little bit similar to an X-Pen is the fact that these lenses are manual focus only. So there's no autofocus. Maybe in the future there will be an autofocus lens or an anamorphic autofocus lens, who knows, but so far these are all manual focus, and the focus throw is fairly long because they're made for video. And actually manual focusing these lenses is pretty nice. They have a nice scale, so it's really good. And this is also something that reminds me on the X-Pen, because also there, only manual focus. I don't want to bore you to death about how these lenses work, but in a nutshell, they cover a much wider field of view than would be possible with a regular 3:2 aspect ratio. So this lens is a 35mm, right? Yes and no. I mean, when it comes to a vertical field of view, yes, it's a 35mm, but horizontally, it's rather a 24, and that is a substantial difference.
To achieve that, the image will be projected, squished together onto the sensor, and later in post you de-squeeze the image again to get this super wide looking shot. If you want to know more about it, I can recommend checking out the Anamorphic on a Budget channel. There you'll find plenty of information about how it all works.
Now we know a little bit more about the technicalities of these lenses, but what is the shooting experience like, you might think?
When you pop the lens on your camera and then the first time you're looking at the screen or in the viewfinder, the image looks a little bit odd. Personally, it took me a few shots to get used to that, but does it have to be this way?
Not necessarily, because if you shoot video, there's a good chance you might use an external monitor or recorder, and these usually have a built-in feature to de-squeeze the image and give you a preview what it will look like. And that makes the whole experience much more easy to use because you can frame your shot much better, and it's easier to nail manual focus as well. But of course, you don't want to lurk around an external monitor when you go out taking photos, right?
So pretty much all of the latest Panasonic cameras also give you the option to de-squeeze the footage as a preview. Unfortunately though, that doesn't apply when shooting stills.
Remember when I said that photography is still an afterthought when it comes to anamorphics? Well, there you have it. But since they become more and more popular, maybe in the future camera manufacturers could implement this into their cameras with a simple firmware update. I think Panasonic should be super easy to do that. And that would make the whole experience a lot more comfortable. And it's already okay, but this would improve it a little bit more and make it more accessible for more people.
I know there will be people out there asking, what is all the fuss about? I simply crop my images to whatever aspect ratio I want and I'm done. Fair enough, but personally that feels like cheating and I love to get it right in camera as much as possible. Also, there's another thing that makes anamorphic lenses so unique, and that is those lovely lens flares that you're able to get and that you are usually only see in movie productions.
Now let's say we've captured some images, we open them up in Lightroom and we do our edit, right? It's not that simple, but it's not that complicated either.
So this is what my workflow looks like. I open up the files in Lightroom and I do some light adjustments. I apply one of my color profiles. If you're interested, the link will be in the description box. Then I open up the files in Photoshop and apply an action that I created, save the images and back to Lightroom. Okay, not so fast. Let's go back to Photoshop.
So how you do it is very easy. You go to image size. There you set width to % and type in 150. But it's very important that you unlink width and height, otherwise both will be affected. So let's do it again, width 150, and that's it.
In these photos you see some vignetting, and it's there because the lens was designed for APS-C cameras and I'm using it on a full frame camera. One thing that is also common among budget anamorphics, that is distortion, especially with wider focal lengths. Often it's not really visible, but when it is, you can easily correct it in Photoshop if it's bothering you.
So I go to Liquify, and here let me zoom out first a little bit, then the brush, I choose a rather large brush. There you go, that's pretty much it. That's more than good enough, I would say. Let's press OK, and that's it.
Alright, now you know how I edit these files. It's actually pretty straightforward and fairly easy. And you don't need to have a lot of skills in Photoshop to do that. Just a few clicks and that's pretty much it. However, it could be easier, of course, if Adobe would implement this kind of feature into Lightroom. And when these lenses getting more popular, there's a good chance that this might happen with a future update. In my video editing software, which is DaVinci Resolve, it's very, very easy. I just pop in the files. With a few clicks, all the files are converted and they're now in the perfect and the correct aspect ratio. And that's pretty awesome. And I hope this will soon be possible also for photography. Alright guys, now you know how I use an anamorphic lens to get similar looking results like an X-Pan. I mean, somewhat similar to an X-Pan. What do you think? Is this something you would consider trying, or do you think, it's too much hassle and I don't want to deal with the post-processing on these files? Let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, guys, as always, if you have any questions, also leave them in the comments down below. If you like this video, smash the like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and we will see each other very soon in the next one. Until then, auf Wiedersehen.